Hey friends, Peggy Hall back with you with more on some very strange things that are tied in to this train wreck in East Palestine. I'm going to call it Palestine now. Some of you from Ohio told me that was the correct pronunciation. So there are a couple, I'm going to talk about three things that have been brought to my attention, and you may have heard about these as well. It's very interesting, the links that are going on. In my video that I did 2 days ago, I talked about how that movie called White Noise, which was based on a book that was written in 1985. Wow, it took place in East Palestine, and some of the actual residents were in that movie. I showed a brief clip of the movie trailer. What I didn't show you was that in that movie trailer, and this was airing on Netflix a couple of years ago, I think it was a couple of years ago, the girl was actually had a mask hanging from her ear. So apparently she was wearing this in the movie that was written in 1985. I thought that was very, very interesting. So I'm going to bring three things to your attention because I find it very curious. And this is another exercise for us to do our critical thinking. And before I do that, I do want to bring you a brief word. This video is sponsored, and it's sponsored by healthwithpeggy.com. Let me just show you the website. You've probably seen it if you've been following me for some time. Friends, this is a product that I use. I love the results, and I hope that you will check it out as well. It's called healthwithpeggy.com. I just want to read a brief message from the sponsor, and that is that low levels of collagen can show up in more ways than one. Although sagging skin and wrinkles are the most common that come to mind, did you know that your nails, your hair, and your joints, the condition of those can also be signs of low collagen levels as well. And one of the quickest ways that you can combat the low levels of collagen is to supplement with a high quality collagen supplement. And in my opinion, there is no better choice than healthwithpeggy.com. It has 5 different kinds of critically important collagen that will help provide your skin, hair, and nails and joints with the nutrients that you need. So you can look your best this spring and summer. And you can also get up to 51% off of your order by going to healthwithpeggy.com. You get several free bonuses. You get VIP coaching for life. It's a money-back guarantee. You have 60 days to try it out in case you're not satisfied. So again, healthwithpeggy.com. You can click the link I will have for you in the description box below. And I hope that you will try it and like it as I do. All right, friends, let's dive into some of these very curious things going on in East Palestine. One of the things that came to mind, and I'm going to share my screen with you, is that back in October of 2022, East Palestine was one of the first to partner with this product. Let me know if you've heard of it before. It's called My ID. All right. It is a medical ID bracelet. It is a tracker. It keeps track of all of your medical information. And in my view, let me know if you agree with me, wearing something on your arm or carrying something around your neck is pretty much just one step closer to just having it, like that little tracker just inserted. You may have an animal that has a microchip, and they told us that was because if they were going to get lost, they would be able to be found. I've been in animal rescue for a long time. I'd say about 15, 20 years ago when that first came on the scene, I was all in favor of it because I'm like, yes, if my dog ran away or my cat ran away, it would be amazing that they could find the animal again. Well, the problem is that a lot of these trackers are not actually activated if people move and then their address is not updated. And that's just sort of the practical side of it. But I started thinking more deeply, and it's like, wow, they did all of the neutering on pets, making that acceptable to us. Now, I know, I'm in animal rescue, so don't, get me wrong here, but there are other ways of decreasing the pet population, like not letting your animal procreate with others. And if you have an elderly cat or dog or something that doesn't go outside or mix with other animals, why in the world would you have it go through that surgery? I've heard of so many animals that died in the surgery room having these neuterizing surgeries. I don't know the correct word. And it's very troubling and sad to me that these animals perished because they were not physically sound in order to have this operation. And I understand. And I actually support a lot of animal welfare groups that are in the business of offering low-cost neuter and spay. All of my animals have been neutered. Probably going forward, I would not do that because I know that it disrupts hormones, especially with animals that you're getting out of a shelter. They will neuter them far too soon. They don't get the hormones, they don't get the bone growth, they don't have all of the immune development. And so with my last dog, who I still have, my Teddy, that I found as a little abandoned puppy in the bushes, again, I was of that mindset, you know, how old is she now? 13. So 13 years ago. And it's like, yes, of course, I need to have her spayed because I wouldn't want to have these unwanted puppies. Of course, hopefully no puppy is unwanted, but that's what we are taught as well. And so then this idea of neutering and sterilizing the animals for convenience and for reducing the pet population, I agree that that is one tool. It's not the only tool. There are other tools available, but I also now look at things with a different view. And part of that view is they are preparing us to neuter the children and to track the children, just like they're tracking the animals. You may think that I'm completely off base, but this is what is called incrementalism. It is introducing ideas bit by bit. Now, I happen to I'm borrowing a car that has a keyless entry. And that means that you don't even have, there's no actual key that goes into any lock. It is an electronic device that you click. And when you get inside the car, you just push a button. And you have to have the key with you so that you can push that button. And then when you're done, you push the button. As I say, have an old car, which is part of the reason I don't have it with me right now, but it has a key and you turn it on. And I like that satisfaction of having a key. But it's this incrementalism that is getting you ready. So they go from key to the keyless fob, where you have to have it on you. Pretty soon you'll have that wristband, and then it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to say, well, we can just get that little, it's just like a grain of rice, and you just get that inserted, and then you don't have to have that keyless fob. It's bit by bit by bit. This is how I see things, friends, and this is all tied back into this My ID bracelet that was rolled out in East Palestine in October 2022. Let me take you right on over to a website where there was a news article about this, and hopefully there's not going to be an advertisement playing on top of this one. So let me just bring you right on over. I'm going to unplug my audio and we'll just listen to several seconds of it. And here we go.
In a small town to make a big impact.
Yeah, East Palestine's excited to make an important medical device available to all 4,700 residents. I told you about it in October, and Sunday there's a special meeting to share more or start signing up.
The My ID program is ready to roll out in East Palestine. It's a medical information system which helps first responders provide care.
And it gives us that rapid information that we may need should somebody be unresponsive or having some kind of medical emergency.
My ID provides wearable devices or key fobs which have QR codes. Emergency responders use a camera phone to access important medical information. It shows them the underlying medical conditions you've supplied about allergies, medications, even emergency contacts. That information could impact treatment decisions if a person can't say it. All of the information is HIPAA compliant.
We're not doing this to gain anybody's information, to try and steal anybody's information. We're doing this to help the public in medical emergencies.
My ID is available in East Palestine and Unity Township. The fire department will demonstrate it to other departments which provide backup. My ID can be used anywhere. Sunday, residents can learn more during a special meeting at the East Palestine Community Center.
We want to bring people in to get signed up to pick their device if they want, and just so we can see who all is interested in it.
People who are ready can sign up and pick their device. It's free. The village has $5,000 in donations to cover the first phase of 250 devices.
Anybody that's skeptical, please come on down, sit down, and talk to us. We'll be happy to show you everything that goes on with it. We'll be happy to show you how secure it is. Now, people who sign up Sunday could get their devices within a couple weeks, and that's when My ID will go live. Any phone camera can open it, but there's no social security numbers or insurance numbers, which are included in the information.
All right. I hope you were able to hear that. And if not, I will leave a link for you as well. All of the 4,700 residents in East Palestine, as they were pronouncing it, would be eligible to get this My ID tracking device. So just like I talked about the incrementalism of the spaying and neutering and tracking the animals, which for many of us are like our family members, our children. And so it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to do that with your own kids in terms of, if they said they're going to be safe. And then like the keyless entry, I talked about the incrementalism, and here we go. So you get to choose your tracker. Now, the other interesting thing is you saw this chief of the fire department, and I did a little research on him. He just came on the scene recently. So I think he was hired back in August. And then it was his idea to bring this My ID to this area, to this community. I could not find anything more about him. I could not find whether he was paid by this company, the My ID. I couldn't find whether he was getting paid by pharmaceutical companies. I have no information on him whatsoever. But if you find out anything, or if you live in that area, and I would love to learn more. He came to EAST Palestine recently in this job from another city, and he said that's where he was using that My ID as well. Let's take a look at what that is. And I want to know from you, is this something that you would ever do? Okay, let me share my screen. We're going to hop right on over to the actual My ID shop. And here you go. Best sellers, bundles, bracelets, accessories, the ultimate medical ID system. There's your little tracker right there. Peace of mind, all of your medical info in one place. Modern styles, 3 ways to access your data. Make all of the updates online. Store unlimited medical information. And let's see what they're selling these for. Here we go. So, okay, they're not too expensive. Here you are, 25 bucks, 1995. My ID Hive. Now, I've spoken about the Hive before, the Hive mind, and that is very communistic in my mind, or communitarianism is another one, that we're all part of the hive. Well, we're all each individual. We each of us are individuals with our own individual rights. So I think it's interesting that it's called the hive. They're pushing back. Now, I also found out that in order to keep this active, you have to pay for it every month. So it's not that they were just getting these for free, although they did say they had to have $5,000 in donations. And I wonder where those donations came from. But there's also a monthly fee. That's my understanding. So let me see if I can find that. Gosh, I don't have that window open right now, but here's that Hive tracker. And my understanding is that you have to pay for that. I could be wrong, so I will have to dig into that a little deeper, but I think you have to pay for the monthly service as well. So that's one little interesting tie-in. Now, the second tie-in that I came across is that the chip maker Intel is ready to invest your money and my money, and the money that is printed out of thin air by the government. Our tax dollars are going toward this chip acceleration program. And Intel has put in to get, millions of dollars in grant money, meaning your money and my money, and the money that's printed out of thin air, in order to create a Silicon Valley in New Albany. And I looked that up, and New Albany is about, let's see, I found it. It's about 3 hours from, let's see, it's about, let me share my screen again. So I don't know how close of a tie-in this is, but let's hear. We see New Albany here and EAST Palestine is here. So it's about a 3-hour drive. So I'm not saying that that was exactly the tie-in, but I do think that it's interesting because here we have it. Silicon Heartland Boone for Ohio. Are they going to let me see this? Well, let me do this instead. I actually copied and pasted information because I know I get these paywalls and these advertisements and so forth. So here's what the story says. This one comes from the Morning Journal News, and I will leave a link for you. I'm sorry, this was about the ID program again. Here we go, Silicon Heartland. Let me see if this will come up. Okay. Let me know if you knew about this as well. So here we are. Intel. Latest news, their planned investment in New Albany, and this was a year ago, they announced that it selected the Licking County portion of the New Albany International Business Park as the location for the $20 billion plus chip manufacturing project. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This actually, I don't believe they've broken ground yet because they're still waiting for this $20 million from the government. But here is what someone sent me information on, is that in order to create these silicon chips, it requires a great deal of clean water. And wouldn't it be interesting if this train derailment happened in an area near the Ohio River as we saw it, and then there would have to be some type of government oversight in order to clean up the water, perhaps even have new waterways in order for the water to get to that Intel plant in New Albany. Again, this may be sort of far-fetched, but I think it's an interesting connection, so I wanted to bring that to you. The other thing that came to mind is this aspect of the regulations relating to railroads. I did a little digging as well, and it turns out that there are only 8 major railroads in the United States. I thought that was very interesting for the size of the United States. So here we have it. They're called Class 1 railroads, and there's Amtrak, there's BNSF Railway, try to say that one. There is Canadian National, there is CSX Transportation, Kansas City, Norfolk Southern Railway, and Union Pacific Railroad. And that's the name of the 8 major railroads in the United States. Now, Amtrak is kind of like the post office. It's sort of a quasi-government, meaning there's a lot of government money that's in there, but we don't have a federal railroad system. For example, in France, there's like the French Railroad, and in Japan, there's the Japanese Railway. And it is, my understanding is that it is all owned by the government, funded by the government. So wouldn't it be interesting that there have been a series of accidents over the last few weeks? You may have heard about those. There was also a fire in Florida of a plastics plant. So there have been these toxic accidents, several of them. But wouldn't it be interesting in the place of the railroads that there would be a push for much more government oversight? And you may be in favor of that. You may say there needs to be a lot more regulations related to how many cars can be pulled. And there was a wonderful email that came in from a Healthy American. I'm going to finish off this broadcast by reading that to you in just a moment. But these are things that make me go, what I'm looking for in my critical thinking and reading of the situation is always, where is the government looking to expand? Where is the government looking to take away our rights? Where is the government using these emergencies and these accidents in order to chip away, and not even chip away, but go in and grab our rights? That to me is very, very interesting. So I don't think there's anything personally I can do about this situation in Ohio. There's nothing personally I can do about the Intel plant going into New Albany. And maybe it's a great thing. Maybe people in Ohio say, yes, that's fantastic. We've had a lot of little towns that have gone in the way of the Rust Belt after other industries have gone away. So that would be fantastic if we had new infusion of capital and investment and so forth. And that's absolutely great. But the purpose of me bringing these stories to you is to hone your skills of critical thinking, to look at all sides of the angle and to say, where can I dig deeper here? Is this something that is going to affect me? How can I stand up against it? So here is very interesting information from a lovely, healthy American who is from NE, Ohio. I don't know where that is. And he grew up there and now he's in Pennsylvania. So he's got some news from whistleblowers, and it's from the railroad. And it says, when Norfolk Southern train 32N derailed in Ohio earlier this month, it was not the first time it had experienced problems on the route. The train broke down at least once before derailing in East Palestine on February 3rd. So that's very interesting. What many of the people that are familiar with the railroad say is that they thought that the train's excessive length and weight, 151 cars, 9,300 feet long, 18,000 tons, contributed to the initial breakdown and the derailment. Now, some of you said that there were reports, this is not in the story, but some of you said that there were reports of a fire being on the tracks. and somebody had a videotape of that. Now, I will admit that I'm quite skeptical of this videotape information, not just on this story, but on other stories where, why were they there? Who was it that sent it? Why didn't it get to the news information? And why didn't it get to the people that are in charge of safety on the railroad? And how did they happen to be there at the right time in the right place? It could be completely legitimate, but I'm always asking those questions. One thing, I didn't see it on this tape, but when I did an experiment with my own phone a few months ago, and I was recording a video, and I was actually running because I wanted to see how jiggly my phone would be. And you know that it was absolutely smooth. There's something within the phones that prevent it from being all jiggly and everything when you're moving. So whenever I see footage where it looks all random and it's crazy, like it's tied on your dog's neck and they're running around or something, it's like, how could this person have gotten footage that's so bad quality, so poor quality, because they want you to see it as if it's urgent and an emergency and it's mayhem going on. And I've seen that actually shown on major mainstream moronic news. So it's quite strange to me. I always am looking at the footage and how that looks and where it came from. Anyway, I digress. So in the 2 weeks since the derailment, many residents were at home, and then they returned after the authorities conducted a toxic release. They returned home after the toxic release. It's so strange to me. Somebody asked me, Peggy, can I refuse a mandatory evacuation? I'm going to bring a video to you on that tomorrow. Yes, it's going to be Saturday, but I'm going to live stream in the evening, and I want to answer that question for you. I'll give you a little heads up that it has to do with state regulations, and it varies from state to state, so I'm going to bring that to you. One of the employees said we should not be running trains that are 150 car lengths long. There should be limitations to the weight and the length of the trains. I did a little digging on the transportation management site of the federal government, and there is not a lot that goes into regulating the weight of the trains, the length of the trains, the length of the cars. I thought that was very interesting. Now, where I am in California, we do not have a lot of, well, we do have trains, but it's just not something, at least in the area where I live, where I see a lot of trains or freight trains. So that's not, this is all brand new to me. Norfolk Southern CEO declined an interview, but a company spokesperson did say that the weight distribution of the train was uniform throughout, and it does include a mid-train locomotive train to help run the route before it was split into two shorter and lighter trains. But still, that train was considered to be very long. And it said that 38 trains out of that 150 derailed, and there was a fire that damaged an additional 12 cars. But remember, that fire was not what released the toxic chemicals. And that's what caused concern for a lot of people. They're like, why did you release those toxic chemicals? Well, they may have exploded and caused more damage. I think that's very, very strange. I think it's also strange that there's no state of emergency there. And the other thing is, oh, I hope that I have this for you. I will find that for you another time. But it's pretty funny. Basically, the meme shows this toxic cloud from East Palestine, and it says the EPA says that this is safe for you. And then there's a little plant growing, and it says the EPA says that this is hazardous to the planet and to your life because it gives off CO2, which is carbon dioxide. That is the oxygen for plants. We need more CO2 in the atmosphere, my friends, not less. And if this is a surprise to you, think about all of the hogwashing they did for you over cooties, how they told you that suffocating yourself is healthy for you. Staying home and not getting any exercise or sunlight or interacting with others was actually good for your health. You know that this is one big bamboozle, and they're bamboozling you, telling you that the CO2 is bad for the planet. And then they're telling you that we're running out of gas and oil, which we're not either. So I did a video yesterday about electric vehicles and how the electrical, vehicle is the zero emissions is a myth. And that touched on some of these areas as well. The final thing that I wanted to share with you is that I am still skeptical. I know. I did not see this with my own eyeballs. Things can be photoshopped. I know that there were a lot of interviews with eyewitnesses. A couple of them that I saw had that duper's delight where they seemed really excited to be on TV and they didn't seem too upset about what was going on. I could totally be misreading it, but I am very skeptical about these things that are in the news in order to put something in place. It's like the chess move several moves forward. So someone else was saying that this explosion of the chemicals, that perhaps they actually were exploding fentanyl, which, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, which is one of these drugs that is in the news all the time now, and it might be used for nefarious reasons. I think that is a topic for a separate video. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now, but the point I wanted to leave you with is that it's really hard to know what is truth and what is fiction, especially when it is on the mainstream news. I would love, love, love for any local Ohioans that are in that area, if they have friends that live there, family members that live in East Palestine, if they were there. It's such a small town. Don't get me wrong, friends, don't get me wrong. But wouldn't it be crazy, since they were giving away all those free My ID to the people? My understanding is that it's an economically depressed area. And wouldn't it be interesting if, yes, they all were in on it and they were paid to be a part of this? I'm not saying that happened. I'm just putting it out there. Let's just say I'm floating a trial balloon. How do you like them apples? All right, friends, a little levity here on a Friday evening. Thank you so much for being on board with me. I love reading your comments, and I'm grateful to all of the moderators that we have on board. And there are so many things that we need to dig into. So stick with me tomorrow. I'm going to be doing a bonus episode for you. And would somebody remind me what I'm going to share with you tomorrow? I know that I mentioned it earlier. I'll go back and listen to the video, make sure that I cue it up for you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Remember, I am always over at thehealthyamerican.org. Get on my free Substack. I have links for you below. If you expand that description box, you'll see how you can get information about all the classes and programs and everything that I offer. This is my full-time job. I am committed to you, to bring you information, get you out of the spin cycle, bring remedies and resources, insights, and always I look forward to seeing